Hi, my name is Trace Kirkland,
And I'm Caroliny Jeremias.
and today we're going to be talking about the Girouard versus United States of America Supreme Court case. This court case took place in 1946. So there were two parties in this case. The two parties were Girouard, who's the defendant, and the United States, who's the respondent in the case. Girouard was a Canadian citizen who had wanted to be granted citizenship and wanted to become a U.S. citizen. But as a Seventh-day Adventist, he tried to file a petition for naturalization as a U.S. citizen and was willing to serve as a non-combatant, but was not willing to take up arms to defend the country because of his religious beliefs. As a Seventh-day Adventist, he truly believed that he was not supposed to kill anyone, was not supposed to fight against other people. And so when it came to serving in the military, he wanted to serve in a position that was not going to go against those beliefs, because he truly believed that those were really important to him. But with the United States, they had appealed to the district court or the district court decision to allow Girouard to become a citizen. He had originally went to the district court and they said that he was okay to become a citizen, but the United States looked at that and they looked at a few cases in the past that talked about that, and they really were against him becoming a citizen, and so they decided to appeal this case.
Next, we're going into facts of this case. So, as we mentioned, it happened in 1946 to a Canadian citizen named Jacques Girouard, and he was attempting to apply for his US citizenship. He was denied based on his stance on military service due to his religious beliefs. And his naturalization interview, in the interview, he told them how he was willing to defend the United States, but only if it was in a non-combat position.
Mhm. And so when it came down to the religious freedom legal issues with that, previously in the United States, Congress had required an alien, someone from a different country, to um, basically take an oath in court before being admitted as a citizen, saying that they were going to support and defend the Constitution, the laws against the enemies of the United States. And this was actually known as statutory construction. And that going back to the cases that we were talking about that had to do with it, the cases of Schwimmer, McIntosh, and Bland really were closely related in the fact that people had to take an oath, saying that they would defend the country. But in all of these cases, there was a general rule that an alien, someone from a different country, would who refused to bear arms would not be granted citizenship. Basically going against in a way kind of what they were saying, like it never said anything about them having to bear arms or fight against other people, but basically the Supreme Court decided to make those decision that it basically talked about that in the previous decisions and the Constitution.
Next up, we have the Macintosh case versus the United States. So here's just a few general facts. The case involves Douglas Clyde, who was a Canadian-born professor, just like the case that we have. And who was also in the process of applying for a US citizenship. And during his naturalization process, the defendant stated that he would only take the oath of allegiance to the United States constitutionally, meaning that he would only support the Constitution if it aligned with his personal ethical beliefs regarding war. So just like our case, he didn't want to be in a position he was where he had a firearm. And the issue was that in 1931, the United States Supreme Court case addressed that the issue of whether an individual's personal beliefs regarding pacifism could impact their eligibility for a United States citizenship. At the end of this case, the court ruled that Macintosh could not qualify for a citizenship. And so they ruled that he was not eligible to qualify for a citizenship because his views affecting his views affected uh, the United States Constitution and laws. And the next up, we have Schwimmer versus the United States. So this case is about a woman named Rosika Schwimmer, who was originally born in Hungary and had applied for United States citizenship. She openly expressed her beliefs about war and stated that she would under no circumstances bear arms. And this ended up raising the concern about her willingness to fulfill the oath, which is crucial for naturalization. And so the issue in this case was that due to her pacifist beliefs and unwillingness to take arms, she was disqualified from her citizenship because she didn't want to be involved in war in any way or bear arms at all in any way. The court ruled that Schwimmer could be denied citizenship due to her refusal of bearing arms in defense to the country, and the majority agreed that her resistance of all military service went against her obligation as a citizen to support the nation's defense.
Mhm. And then when it comes to United States and Bland, this was a court case in 1931. But Bland, he was basically someone that was also trying to get into the United States. And he went through the naturalization process. But after being naturalized, the United States decided, just like the Girouard case, that they were going to try to denaturalize Bland. Um, and they said that he had obtained his citizenship illegally by making false statements that were in regards to his eligibility of citizenship, basically going against the oath, saying that he would have, be defending the laws of the Constitution. He was going against that and making false statements that, were basically trying to help himself get citizenship. But this caused an issue of whether or not Bland's citizenship would be revoked and whether the United States government were able to actually initiate the denaturalization action. And so they ended up actually ruling in favor of the United States, just like the other two court cases, basically now allowing them to initiate the denaturalization of Bland. And they said that the false statements that were used in his naturalization process were material in the decision that basically allowed him to be granted citizenship in the first place. And so this also kind of goes with that general rule with the other two, and the fact that you know, he had basically taken a naturalization oath and said that he would defend the Constitution, defend the law of the land. And while this is not specifically related to him, not fighting in the military, it still goes with that, with the fact that he went against the naturalization oath and wasn't, willing to fight in the military, as well as, making false statements. And so the effect of these cases, seeing these three cases, it kind of became big that, with regards to this Girouard case, that they were going to rule in favor of the United States, because they had already ruled in favor of them in the other three cases. And so they were going to be basically have to make him, bear arms and fight for the country in order for him to obtain the citizenship, which went against his beliefs. But that also goes into the actual, court case and what they ended up actually voting on. And so she's actually gonna go quickly through that.
Yeah. So at the end of Girouard's case, against what the other cases said, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. They actually concluded that the similar cases did not state the correct rule of law, and his willingness to take on combated service could fulfill the loyalty requirements for naturalization. So he actually wanted to serve in some way versus the other two that didn't want to. And the decision marked a dramatic shift in recognizing objectors and their rights under the United States law.
Mhm. And so the question is, do we agree with the court decision? I would say that we both agree with the court decision, because it doesn't specifically talk about in the oath, saying that he has to defend the law and the Constitution of the United States. It does specifically talk about him having to bear arms. And so even though they ruled in favor of the United States in those other three decisions, I truly believe that they made the right choice, and acknowledging the fact that in this decision that it didn't truly talk about that. And so they made the right choice in that way. And so this also meant that, in order to be able to defend the Constitution, the law of the country, he could still become a member of Congress. He could hold public offices, and serve in other positions that were non-combative. And so he was able to still support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States without actually physically fighting, which was really good for him. And it was definitely the right choice in regards to the naturalization oath. And so, yes, thank you so much for allowing us to present. But yes, this was just a little bit about the Girouard versus United States court case and about some of the other court cases that had to do with it.
Thanks for watching.